the opportunity, and apologies for joining late. So, Valmiki's Ramayan, as you know, has 24,000 slokas, and it has a culmination of so many things you have already heard. Balakanda has 2,280 slokas. Ayodhya Kanda has 4415 slokas. Aranyakanda has 2732 slokas. Kiskinda Kanda has 2620 slokas. Sundara Kanda has 3006 slokas. Yuddha Kanda has 5990 slokas, and Uttarakhand has 3277 slokas. So today we are summarizing Ramayan, just trying to conclude by saying Valmiki's Ramayan has around 24,000 slokas, the and uh, then we have the uh, sargas. When you talk about chapters, Balakanda has 77 chapters, Ayodhya has 119 chapters, Aranyakanda has 75 chapters, Kiskindakand has 67 chapters, Sundarakand has 68 chapters, Yuddhakand has 131 chapters, Uttarakhand has 110 chapters. And uh, and uh, when you think about Ramayan, we meditate on Lord Rama, who gives pleasure to our senses. And for the Namkaran ceremony, Sage Vasista came to the Sasji's house to perform the Namkaran ceremony. And there he gave the name Rama, who gives pleasure to our senses. And after naming Lord Ram, Sage Vasista, was ecstatic and was overwhelmed when naming Lord Ram. So when you try to conclude Ramayan, we have to focus on the names of the Lord as to how ecstatic Sage Vasista was when the Namkaran was happening, and that culminated. Lord Ram was the Supreme Personality of Godhead anyway, but when the Guru and the Kulguru of the dynasty gives the name of Ram, who gives pleasure, he was very ecstatic. And it is mentioned that Sage Vasista did not choose the name, but the name chose the child, as to how Lord Ram was giving happiness to everyone. And Kaushalya, Maharani Kaushalya, who gave birth, had a desire for a boy who would give pleasure to everyone, and Lord Ram was a perfect. He was perfect in every way. He was the Maryada Purushottam. In summary, Lord Ram is everything, where everything culminated in his ability to give happiness to everyone. So Ramji gave a pleasure to his father, mother, stepmother, the citizens of Ayodhya, and in addition to his beauty, his pleasing personality was exquisite. As to whoever he would see, he would give pleasure. Uh, e- even the animals, birds. So Lord Ram epitomized providing happiness to one and all, and and Tulsidas wants to compare Lord Ram's face with worldly wonders, but couldn't find anything worthy enough to decide that the only thing comparable to Lord Ram's face is Lord Ram's face. And this is a common bhajan you may have heard, wherein Lord Ram's body and his face is being compared with different features and different articles, but finally they couldn't compare Lord Ram's beauty with anything. And finally, Lord Ram's face is compared with Lord Ram's face, and his actions while crying, crawling during the childhood give happiness to everyone. And the Ram is one who gives pleasure. And Bharat is one who takes the load on his head. Bharat. He had to bear the burden of the kingdom when Lord Ram left. The name Bharat meant that the boy has infinite capacity to selflessly carry the heavy burden of responsibility of on his head. So Bharat epitomized carrying bhar. That means he has to take the burden of responsibility in his head. And Bharatji epitomized that he didn't crave for, uh, he didn't really crave for uh, the position in any way, and he was always responsible for uh, carrying and giving and treating everyone as if he is the servitor of Lord Ram. So he had the burden and responsibility on his head to perform that. So Bharatji's qualities are is unthinkable when Bharatji came to see Lord Ram. Uh, Lakshman was very angry. Lakshman felt that Bharatji has come to kill his elder brother so that he doesn't come back to rule. But when Lakshmanji went and the interaction between Bharat and Lakshman was being performed, it is felt. Then people realized that how deep Bharat is to Lord Ram and how Bharat was performing the service of being the leader without holding the leadership position. So he was a perfect example of what a servitor should be. And when we summarize Ramayan, Bharatji is someone who stands out in his ability to be the humblest servant of Lord Ram who can take the load or bhar on his head all the time. And when Bharatji had to come back, he did not go back to Ayodhya. He did not go back to the opulence of Ayodhya. He actually stayed in the outskirts of Ayodhya. Outskirts of Ayodhya is Nandigram. And by staying in the outskirts of Ayodhya, he ruled the entire Ayodhya. This indicates that Bharatji is a true servitor, that he did not put in the king's robes. He used the saffron robes like a brahmachari and served from the outskirts of Ayodhya by not even going to Nandigram. And always he will keep the kathau of Lord Ram at a higher position, and he will sleep at a lower level, and then he would serve the lotus feet of Lord Ram by performing the activities of a servant, wherein he would always offer obeisances to the lotus feet of his elder brother. Unthinkable in this age about how a elder brother has to be given respect, and it's unthinkable as to how people and personalities, inspiring personalities like Bharat, keep giving that element of respect to the lotus feet of Lord Ram by offering obeisances every day for several years when Lord Ram was in exile. When Lord Ram was in exile, Bharatji was hurled with a lot of abuses, so that as he was being hurled with abuses, he would go in the night before the dawn to take bath in the river, so that, and he did it all throughout. Whenever we think about attending Mangala Arati in the night, it's a penance in a way, but and that penance of getting up early in the morning and taking birth early before the dawn was done by Bharatji, who could just go, uh, so that he doesn't have to get, and for avoiding the hurling of abuse from the citizens, used to go. More and more we talk about Bharatji, we realize, and we inculcate that sense of humility in our mindset. So, in this abusive situation from citizens, where he was often ostracized as if he was the stealer of the throne, uh, in on behalf of the activities which unfolded through through his mother Kaikeyi. Ruling the kingdom for 14 years was a burden. Actually, it was not a pleasure, as you can see from the situation. So Bharatji is often a unsung hero in Ramayan, and through 14 years, Bharatji ruling Ayodhya was a huge burden, and he carried that burden of love to please his brother. His life was that of a burden bearing love. When a person is suppressed all his life with a burden, his whenever and with that burden, he has exhibited love for his elder brother. It's a very tricky situation for anyone to understand, that if how come a person who has all the power to exhibit cannot exhibit for the sake of the humility, for the sake of that aspect. So it's a very tricky situation. You have all the money in the world, you have all the power in the world, but you just can't unleash that. You can't just can't. So this is how earlier kings were. The kings were all lot of very good kings in our Vedic culture were Rajashris. They were Rajas, but they were leading a life of Rishi, exactly like Bharatji, as you can see, or Janak Maharaj, Mother Sita's father. They're not kings, they are Rajashris. They built a life of kingliness by showing example to others. As Krishna mentioned, Yad Yad Acharati Srashta, by exhibiting qualities. But if you look at today's politicians who rule, look at how they behave, how they unleash, how they flaunt um, the money and power. But look at uh, Bharatji as to how, in spite of having everything, he was leading a menial life. Something for Krishna conscious devotees is to learn how to inculcate the process of humility. And Lakshman comes from the word Lakshmi, or wealth. So he had the richness of bestowing direct service to Lord Ram. In Lord Ram, if you look at Lakshmi Narayan, Narayan would be resting, Lakshmi ji would be serving, and so he had the richness, and he was very rich because of what? Not because he has money and everything. He was rich because he had the wealth of service to Lord Ram, and he cultivated the attitude of service to his brother Ram. And anywhere he would serve, it would be in the form of a guard. In the sense, Lord Ram would be going, Lakshman would be, either ahead, checking out whether there are any dangers in Ramji's path in the forest. So every time Lakshman was the closest confidant of Ramji, and through that he served, or rather, he cultivated the attitude of service to his brother Ram, and he was inseparable from Ram and looked for opportunities to serve Lord Ram. Whenever there is an opportunity to serve, he was so excited that Ramji would be, seeking for something, Lakshman would be there. Ramji would be about to launch a war, Lakshman would go and, finish the enemy ahead. So Lakshman is very potent and powerful, and Lakshman's intent is to serve Ram from a close proximity with keeping Lord Ram's comfort and safety in perspective all the time. And he was eager to collect the wealth of opportunities of service. Whenever he will be given any service, Lakshmanji would open his two arms and take the service with a very enthusiasm and eagerness. Lakshman never aspired for material wealth or power. If you can see the history of Ramayan, Lakshmanji is always the side, person, never in the front lines. Bharatji was way behind, but still Lakshmanji would be beside, but Ramji's position is uh, is protected. So a question becomes, right, when Ramji did not ask Hanuman to go and burn Lanka, he was sent to identify Mother Sita and search for Mother Sita. He could have done that, but Hanumanji had no intent to burn, but he was abused. He was abused, and when he was abused, he wanted to show the enemy the fear the enemy would have for a servitor. So that if the servitor of a person can burn a place, think about what the real person who is about to launch the war is. Think about what the real person when he is going to unleash the war is. So he wanted to instill fear on the opponent, which is a tactic which is used all the time in war and peace. The instill of fear is something. So the question becomes, when something is not told, you go overboard. However, in Lakshman situations, he would always be a he won't he was a very angry person, if angry person quality, but he would always take uh, the counsel of Lord Ram in his ability. And when Mother Sita chastised him that you do not want to go and look for that deer because you indirectly wants to uh, uh, enjoy with me, and that's when Lakshman uh, did not argue and went ahead, and that one thing led to another, and then. But if you look at Lakshman, when the Suparnakha situation came, uh, Lakshman was so angry personified, he cut the nose and ear of Suparnakha, and that created the jolt in minds of Ravana, and Ravana came rushing in at the ill advice of Suparnakha that Ramji is one who is having a beautiful wife, and that uh, desire from Ravan culminated in stealing of Mother Sita, and there is so staying back, coming back into the characterization of Lakshman. Lakshman was angry personified. He could do anything to protect Lord Ram, to protect Lord Ram's honor, and he was always enthusiastic to take up the service, but uh, around Lord Ram in focus. So, Mother Sumitra, who was the third queen of Dasrath Maharaj, wanted to serve Lakshman Satrughna in a method of cooperation, not trying to counter or argue in a situation. So always align with what Ramji wants and cooperating with Ramji. So when we summarize Ramayan and highlight the characterization of these tremendous personalities, we learn that uh, that attitude to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so high. The bar is so high. How to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what bhakti is all about, should be understood and should be inspired by learning at these qualities of the brothers of Ramji. And Satrughna, he always had the ability, the valor to conquer his enemies, and he could overpower his enemies, and he led a life of servitude to Bharat and served Bharat all his life. And uh, and he for him uh, he was always enamored by the beauty of Ramji from a distant quarter, uh, and always had tremendous amount of love and respect for Ramji. So always Shatrugna would let Bharat serve ahead of him to Lord Ram, and he would indirectly serve Bharatji in his ability to showcase that element of lineage and going dasanu dasanu dasa attitude which Bharatji had. He is the person who had direct connection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Ram, but he chose to serve the devotee of the Lord, who is Bharatji. That is a very special characteristic when you think about. When you think about, everybody wants to do deity worship. Everybody wants to do bhoga, direct, changing the dress of the Lord. Everything. Everybody wants to touch the Archa Vigraha. That's a surface, no doubt. But how many would go and serve with very enthusiastic manner the bhoga or prasad or doing the cleaning of the temple? Very few. And that mood to be in the limelight trying to do abhishek of the Lord is so prominent that the true essence to serve the devotee of the Lord is missing. And Shatrugna, by serving the devotee of the Lord in Bharat, he had desire. It's not as if he didn't have desire to serve the Lord. When you see the beautiful forms of Lord Sham Sundar, Jaganath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Gauranitai, who would not like to serve them on a personal basis, but curbing the desire to not serve them and serve the devotees, he recognized that desire is the most powerful foe, and he controlled that. Satrugna controlled that ability. So sometimes, whenever the thing is there very close to you, instead of serving that, but if you end up serving the servant of the Lord, it gives a lot of happiness to the. So when you try to put all these things into perspective, Ramji led by example. He was Maryada Purushottam. Lakshmanji, he exemplified that the purpose of one life must be to serve the Supreme Lord in totality. He was a servitor with being adjacent to the Lord and serving Him in totality all the time, 24 by 7. Bharatji showed to the world that one should follow Lord's commands without questioning. Even if Lord is not with us physically, even if Lord's Bapu is not close to us, but his Vani is enough, his Kathau is enough. And that mindset was showcased by Bharat. And Satrughna is serving the Lord by serving his devotee, and in this case, Bharatji. So Ramji represented Dharma. Wherever Ramji is, Dharma is there. Lakshmana represented Artha, accompanied by Ram, always, which means economic pursuits are guided by Dharma. Lakshmanji, whose name we just said has come from Lakshmi, of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Lakshmanji represented Artha. Bharatji was liberation personified by serving, and Satrughna represented Kama, accompanied Bharat, which means that Kama or desire ought to be directed towards moksha or perfection. And this is another definition where the four tenets, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, of any Vedic uh, scripture is personified by these four personalities. And Bharatji was the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord. He was the weapon of the Lord. Lakshman was the Lakshman is none other than Balram uh, or Adi Guru in that sense. Was the snake bed or Ananta Sesha of the Lord. And Satrughna is the conch or Panchajanya Sankha of Lord. And Ram is the incarnation of Vasudev. Lakshman is the incarnation of Sankarshan. Bharatji is the incarnation of Pradyumna. And Satrughna is the incarnation of Anirudh. And these are the four primary incarnations of Vishnu in the spiritual world. So there are different life lessons which we'll discuss a little bit in our summary. Uh, and So Lord Ramji was beautiful, adorable son, prince, who is Lord of everyone's heart, which means as gentle as moon. But when Lord Ramji went was about to be incarnated, coronated, bad choice of word, coronated, he was uh, the day before, Kaikeyi Maharani executed the boon which was given to him by Dasarath. By virtue of that boon, everything fell out of place. You had a plan, and because of the plan, everything fell out of place. So, if you see Ramayan, that particular night, that night Ramji and Maharani Sita was about to be coronated the next day. Very happy moment is hope for Ayodhya. And all of a sudden, by the execution of that boon, Mother Kaikeyi, everything was turned around. Everybody was despair. The night before it was about to be executed, there was despair everywhere. Ramji was sad. Of course, Ramji was sad. But Ramji chose to be right at that point in time. So hope, despair, and righteousness were all culminated into one in that climactic situation. Unthinkable everywhere. If you see the turn of events that night Ramji was about to be coronated, everything went upside down. So in our life, we would have things going in our way, but a time will come, things makes a U-turn. And at that time, how to choose the difference between right and wrong, how to choose the difference between the righteousness and what not to do. We gain that from the scriptures. And Ramayan is an example of how to pick the right direction when our minds are not working, we are all around the place, and we are confused. And hope, despair, and righteousness is something Ramayan epitomized in that. And then when you look at another summary of Ramayan through the work of Kevat, who exhibited devotion to the fullest degree. And there are some prior references as to how Kevat is connected to Satyug. But here, Kevat is seen washing the lotus feet of the Lord and taking him across. And that shows that he wanted to serve Lord Ram at the highest level by being the servitor. And Raman epitomizes sacrifices. Bharatji took the army to bring back Lord Ram back to Ayodhya. Lakshman mistook as if Bharat has come to fight with Ramji and kill him. And that interaction is very special. And through the interaction, we realize how great Bharatji is. Bharat lived a life of guilt even if he was not at fault. Urmila is the second daughter of King of Janak and the princess of Mithila after Sitamaya. And look at her life. She lived alone in Ayodhya in Ramji's absence. Mother Sita was with Ramji for some time, but Urmila Maharani, or Urmila Devi, was always in separation from Lord Ram. So this is a beautiful picture of Lord Jagannath in Raghunath Vesh. Here there are different Veshas of Lord Jagannath, and here, as you can see, there is bow and arrow, and 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 there are different personalities wherein Lord Jagannath uh, is adored as Raghunath Vesh. So, in conclusion, we should learn servitorship from Hanuman, how to understand relationships between husband, wife, brother, brother, how to sacrifice, how bad association. Kaikeyi Maharani was a warrior princess and queen. She was the favorite of Dasrath Maharaj. But look at the slight bad association with Manthara. What made her? From the darling, she became a demon in the sense that she was hated by everyone. With curse, Dasrath Maharaj died. Curse to Kaikeyi Maharani, and she was the darling. So, how bad association? You may be the brightest, but a bad association. That's why from Ramayan we should learn, in conclusion, that how we should give importance to association. Anyone who is favorable to bhakti, associate. Anyone who is not favorable to bhakti, let's not, because that's not going to help as it did not help Mother Kaikeyi. How miserable life can be for Dasarath Maharaj, who could really Dasarath Maharaj got his name because he could steer 10 chariots at the same time. He was so powerful. He had skills. He gave the birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But finally, when he left the body, his darling, Lord Ram, was not nearby. A life full of success, but what a miserable end game Dasarat Maharaj had to go through. And still, so we have to learn how to be strong in this miserable time. When we have misery, we curse a lot of people and a lot of our situation and all that. But can anybody's life be more miserable than Dasarat Maharaj? In the sense that he was so loving, he was so he had so much of love for Lord Ram, and look at misery. So Ramayan is okay, and then the attachment of Kaikeyi Maharani with Ramji. Kaikeyi Maharani used to love Ramji even more than her own son. But look how it turned out. Ramji never had any qualms or negative thoughts for Kaikeyi Maharani. But look at how it turned around. Attachment is so temporary. And after the situation, Kaikeyi Maharani had to ask for Ramji's throne from Dasarath Maharaj. So how love and attachment can be poisoned by bad association and bad decisions. And from Ramayana we learn how to strategize. How Lord Ram treated Vibhishan, who was an enemy, but he understood the goodness. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows everything. But in this, he exhibits that there is no enemy or no friend. A person who is favorable to the Supreme Personality. What is dharma? Krishna was stealing butter. Is that dharma in the real sense? Probably the material way to understand that is it's not dharma. Dharma is one what is exhibited by the Lord. When he steals butter and when he steals the clothes of Gopi, that is dharma. So dharma is dharmantu sakshat bhagavat pranita. That means when the activities of Bhagavan, Bhagavat pranita, the activities of the Supreme is dharma. And whoever aligns with that, whether it is Vibhishan, that's strategy for us. Lord Ram built a bridge, went to the enemy's den to unleash and recover his wife. That is fearlessness and bravery. If anybody could go to the den of the opposition and from the scuff of the neck, he could unleash and take the possession, there is nothing more brave than Lord Ram way of going to Lanka through a bridge with not, heavy artillery and nuclear bombs, but with a bunch of monkeys and bears and unleashing on the enemy to protect his dearest loving wife. That is fearlessness. And also from Ramayana, we remember and learn that as a human being, Lord can appear. Lord exhibits pastimes like a superhuman, but through a human, as Ramji. Ramji was a human being, but he exhibited pastimes. And monkeys, power of surrender. Hanuman ji epitomizes servitorship, but how to surrender? How Lord Ram, for the sake of righteousness, after when Love Kush were in the womb, how Ramji, for the sake of righteousness, left Mother Sita in forest, and how Ramji was protecting Dharma by hearing what his subjects were telling. It didn't mean that Ramji did not love Mother Sita. Ramji loved Mother Sita like anything. But for the purpose of Dharma, he bent and put Lord Shiva in forest. So it said, Dharma rakshati rakshita. If you safeguard dharma, dharma will safeguard you. If you protect dharma, dharma will protect you. And that's a lesson for all of us. So, so Ramayan, in conclusion, how to learn to be a servitor from Hanumanji, how to understand the relationship between brothers, and how Ramji's mother, Koshala, did not get the boon. Ramji's stepmom got the boon. But Ramji didn't say that my mother didn't do it, I'll take this throne. He didn't say that. He accepted the verdict. And his dad, his father, was not happy Ramji accepting the boon. But in spite, he stayed on course and sacrificed. So all these beautiful qualities and many more, I'm sure, was something we all can learn as we end Ramji's glorifying Ramji. There is, it can go on and on, but Ramayana is a exhibition of love, sacrifice. It has everything in that. There's nothing which is not there in Ramayana. So, like to end here. Sorry, I was a little late. Didn't remember, my fault. But Ramji is a personality which can be glorified through his entourage of his brothers, his servitors, his relationships to such a degree that we can always take away something inspiring to lead our life from Ramayana. So, with that, I'd like to end here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any question or comments or reflections? So, if there is no question or comments, we can end here, Prabhu and Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, let's end here by offering a prayer at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by saying Vancha Kalpataruvascha
Panchakalpatarubhasya
Kripa
kripasi
Sindhu Vaivaccha Patitanam
patitanam
Pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namo
namo namah.
Vaishnavrinda
Vaishnavin
ki
ki
jai
jai,
Santraj Ramayan ki
ki
jai
jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari
Hari Hari Hari
Bol.
Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol.